Welcome back to the Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thanks again for joining me. So today I want to give you some thoughts on a film that just dropped and became available on streaming called What You Wish For. And this is a film that is more so of a thriller than a horror film, but there are still, I would say, some horror elements in there. And this is, I think, going to be a hidden gem. This is a movie that is going to kind of fly under the radar. Probably not a whole lot of people are going to see it or talk about it, but I think it is one that you should definitely check out. And What You Wish For is another one, and I feel like there have been a few of them so far this year where it is best to go in blind, knowing as little as possible. I think that's really going to help you get the most out of it and have the best experience, but I'll give you just a really brief synopsis. This is about a guy by the name of Ryan, who is played by Nick Stahl, and he is a guy who is dealing with some pretty serious gambling debts, and he decides to flee the country and head off somewhere down in Central or South America, and ends up meeting up with a friend that he hasn't seen in many, many years, and we find out that they both went to culinary school together, and now they've kind of just reconnected and are starting to reminisce. And that's all I'm going to say regarding the plot. I didn't watch the trailer for this thing, so I don't know what and how much it gives away, but I would say your best bet is to avoid the trailers. Now, in terms of my experience with this and what I liked about it, I really liked the film's overall presentation. And the opening half hour of the movie is kind of ambiguous and mysterious, where we're not really sure what direction it's headed. We don't know where exactly it's going. You know, there's not much of a plot that's kind of established. We're just not really sure. And then there's this reveal where you realize what's going on and what sort of direction the rest of the film is going to take. And from that point on, the film does a really good job in just sort of delivering very natural suspense and tension throughout the rest of the film. There's a good chunk of this movie, particularly in the latter half, that almost takes place in real time. And this is a type of movie that it kind of builds up to this sort of situation, and then once that situation is revealed, it just kind of lets things unfold in a very sort of, I think, more realistic and natural sort of way. And so we're there just watching the aftermath of this scenario unfold and watching Nick Stahl's character go through it and seeing what he does and how he handles it and how he responds. And I just really like that more kind of naturalistic approach. This is a movie that I think is a little bit more on the reserved side of things. This is a film that could really kind of play into what's going on and be sort of very theatrical, very dramatic, very kind of over the top. But instead, it kind of pulls back a little bit. But I think in some way that makes it more effective because it feels more real. That if a situation or scenario like this were to kind of play out, there's definitely elements and parts of it to where you could watch the movie and be like, yeah, I could see that's probably how that would go about, or that's probably what people would actually do in this type of situation. And so there is an element here that reminded me a little bit of like an Alfred Hitchcock type flavor. It's just a little more patient and kind of takes its time and just lets things unfold in a very naturalistic way. But it does such a good job in just building natural tension throughout largely the second half of the film. And the movie does a good job, too, kind of adding little elements and little curveballs that kind of continually ratchet up the tension as we progress through the film. I also quite enjoyed Nick Stahl's performance. He gives a more reserved and kind of understated performance, but I think that lends well to the type of movie and how the film was written and directed. Again, this type of scenario could lend to something that could be very sort of over the top regarding his performance. He could kind of really play up some things. But again, he kind of comes at it a little more reserved, and it feels like more of a real person. You know, the average person isn't a movie character. They're just kind of normal, average people, and he comes across that way. But again, it makes it, I think, more effective, and it makes it more real. he's just this kind of normal guy who finds himself in this situation and has no idea what to do, how to handle it, and is just kind of figuring it out as he goes. And I thought that was a good approach to his character. I also really enjoyed the performance by Tamsin Topolsky. And I don't really want to say much more about her character because I feel like it could give some things away, but she also has a more of kind of a reserved performance as well. But in terms of who her character is and kind of what her motivations are and what she's up to, I thought that was a really good approach as well because, again, it just kind of feels more real and it's just quite effective. And What You Wish For Too also has, I think, some interesting kind of social commentary and stuff like that. That's thought-provoking, and some of it, kind of rings true a little bit as well. And so there's some stuff there to kind of think about and reflect on a little bit. And so overall, I thought this was just a well-executed film. It's well-written. The performances are solid, and I like how the director took just kind of a more grounded, naturalistic approach and just kind of letting the tension just kind of gradually unfold and build and build and build. And so there's also a bit of a dark, humorous edge to it as well that I thought worked pretty well also. So yeah, would definitely recommend this one. I'm going to give this a solid 7, maybe even a 7.5. I definitely think it's worth your time. You can rent it right now. It's available on Amazon. I think it was like $5 or something like that. So yeah, check this one out if that sounds interesting to you. I think you'll have a good time with it. I certainly did. So anyways, those are my thoughts. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up down below like always. If you've seen this, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. That is all I got. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.